Hey everyone, Mike here today with some thoughts here on Drift 21. I've been playing a little bit of the career mode as well as some quick races so far, and yeah, overall this game, it's good, not great, and I think it's got a lot of neat ideas going for it in the career mode. I wish they expanded on it just a little bit more, because yeah, as you'll see, there's a lot of potential for really cool stuff here. So as we load up the career mode, I'll point out that this is the same developer who did Car Mechanic Simulator 2018. And so when we load up in the garage here, you'll kind of get what I mean by this game could have been quite a bit more in terms of interesting stuff. So anyways, here's the starter Miata. You can pop it up. You can see got a bunch of stuff under the hood here. Here's one of the stock engines that I assembled. I just put on the stand. You have a nice manifold, to be fair, but yeah, for the most part, it's kind of a stock car. Here we've got a couple upgrades already. Upgraded radiator, upgraded intake, performance fuel injectors or fuel rail. There's some bits missing here to actually be 100% realistic. Like there's no brake lines, there's no actual piping going into the fuel rail, but little details like that. We'll ignore them, and let's bring up the challenges. So when you first start the game, you're given a MX-5, and then you have to assemble and install the engine. And so you also have to put in the radiator stuff, get the transmission in, and then you run the dyno and make sure it works. And so this is the same car you can use to then go out and drift. Eventually you will want to upgrade it, so they give you kind of a path to follow here. Every time you do one of these challenges, put on better tires, do a little bit of performance bolt-ons, right? New air filter, fuel rail, and radiator. Here we put on an actual intake manifold, those ITBs. And now we've got a full turbo kit we want to do next. So let's get started with a turbo kit, I suppose, and then we'll go and drive this thing around a little bit. So let's first choose a car here, move the car to the left, and then we'll get started with our turbo stuff. So just bring up the menu here, and we can grab all of these parts. So you do have a limited amount of money. And so when you do these challenges, whether it's a garage challenge of putting stuff together, or it's going out on track and actually doing some of the drifting challenges, you do get money for that, and that's kind of how progression works for the game. And so, let's see, we actually... I wonder how the turbo stuff is going to work. I guess buying the turbo, is it just going to be hanging off the manifold at the bottom there? Drop this off here, sure, and let's take a look. I'm actually not sure how the game expects you to install a turbo, because let's be honest, that's not a turbo manifold that we would want to use, but yeah, get that off. Yeah, there has to be a different manifold. So normally, so far with the challenges, you just kind of open up the menu here, and then you look at the challenge, and they tell you what you need to do it. So usually you just click on here, you get the parts, and it's as easy as that. Now in this case, they didn't really put in anything for the manifold. However, there's a turbo manifold here. Oh, actually, you know what? This would be the part, because if I actually back out and look at the general store, where's... Yeah, there's a lot more options here. Oh, okay. So that's how they did it. Cool. So normally all the parts so far have been underneath just one menu. So this is the first time I've actually had, different. Oh, that's great. This is the first time I've actually had to go in and kind of click around up here. So yeah, the turbo manifold, that makes a lot of sense. It's going to be mount turbo, which is fine. So slap that in there, grab the turbo, slap that in there. We may as well finish off the exhaust here by getting the next part, which is our turbo downpipe. Put that there. We're going to have to do a wastegate setup, which I can kind of see it's going to go right there. So we'll go ahead and get one of those. Okay, the intercooler piping, that makes sense. So we'll need the wastegate. Put that on there. And then, yeah, got to do an intercooler setup. And we'll deal with the intake a little bit later. Actually, we'll deal with the intake now in the sense that we can't get the intake manifold off. We got to take off the fuel rail first. We'll just kind of leave that hanging there. And we'll just, I don't know, put this over here somewhere. You don't actually have to be careful with the parts, but you could just chuck them around if you want. Anyways, there's a thing on the menu where you can actually just tell them to clean up all the parts, put them back in your virtual inventory. And yeah, I mean, it works. It's just not ideal. So like this, for instance, this intake manifold, I do have one in stock, so we get to reuse that. We'll put the fuel rail back in. And so this is where there's a lot of just potentially neat stuff here, but I don't know. Whoops. This feels like not that they missed the mark. It feels like they could have done just a little bit more to make this a more interesting instead of just giving you straight challenges and stuff like that. They could have done like a more dedicated career style mode, and this would have really been cool to do. Because at the end of the day, not many games have stuff like this, right? And so, yeah, slightly disappointing, but again, really cool idea. And if they were to build on it, well, that would be great. This is a great foundation to work on. With some neat ideas, but I don't know. As you'll see in a bit, I think the game needs a little bit more work and polish in some other areas as well. Because as cool as this stuff is, at the end of the day, it's still kind of generic. You know, like, yeah, this is car mechanic simulator, like I said. And yeah, I played car mechanic simulator. I found that it was a neat idea, but even that was lacking some stuff a little bit. You know, it was very simplified, which I get. You want to make these games kind of work for everyone. But when it's super simplified, it's the kind of thing where this is a bit more in depth than you would expect. But it's like this awkward, like, it's more in depth than you would expect, but not in depth enough. So it's, for the super casual people out there, they might find this kind of neat, but maybe annoying. Whereas the more, I don't know, the more hardcore people find this disappointing, I guess. So I need to find that filter. They're not awake, and where's my inventory? Performance. We'll put the filter back in, hood down, move the car to dyno. We'll run a quick dyno here. And hey, we have a lot more power. Great. So yeah, that's part of the game. I could also go in and start customizing bits if I wanted to, you know, side skirts and wings and all that stuff as well. At least for now, we're not going to bother. Just going to check what's the next mission just for fun. Oh, suspension. Cool. Well, anyways, that's that. Let's here go to single player. We'll hop on to some of these challenges here. Let's actually choose a different track. Because yeah, Ebisu is pretty popular. School track. And there's a couple others. So yeah, it's mostly one location, and then some of these others are just kind of fantasy-ish stuff. So again, they make good use of some of these areas. They do have a lot of different paths. Different challenges here will evolve a lot as well over time. And so even okay, in this case, it's always on the main track. On the other one, because it's just a paved flat road, they get you to do a little bit more variety. But anyways, yeah, we'll do this challenge mode. We'll choose our Miata, and we'll hop in. I'm going to be using a PlayStation controller for the actual driving bit. And this is where the game is also, unfortunately, a little disappointing. I found... Oh, geez, that's right. This is super loud. Hold on, let me bring the sound down. That is, like, crazy loud. Alright, let me get my... I'm probably going to struggle for a little bit. Just getting back into the groove. I haven't played this game for a little while. It didn't do great. But we need a minimum amount of points. And then as you can see for the gold trophy, I also need to hit all the clipping zones. So let's try it again. I definitely need to drift more. And yeah. And so far, not great. So the game does try and help you with how... that was bad. Let's do a reset again. The game does try and help you a little bit with drifting. You're still expected to do a decent amount of work though. But yeah, some of these clipping zones like that one there is like, whew. Not too sure how I'm supposed to hit that, at least with this level of car. Actually, what I'm seeing now is this track is definitely much more difficult, so... Oh. And I lose the points there because I go off the road, which makes it even tougher. Yeah, too much power there. Let's give it one more try, and I think I'll hop back to the other track and actually play some of those. But yeah, I found the drifting, you know, it tries to help you. It's not terrible, but it's a little weird to get a hang of it. And I think that's the frustrating part for me is it's these games that try and help you. They try and help you, but they wind up making it more difficult in some ways. So I've always found that to be really annoying. You know, when I was doing the Gran Turismo stuff with GT6, I guess. Yeah, GT5 and 6, the ones on PS3. They usually had weekly events for GT6, and so they'd have 2 time trials and 2 drift trials, and I could do reasonably well with the drift trials in that game, and it felt pretty natural, and it just worked. But for a lot of these kind of drifting focused games, I've always found them to be a little awkward, a little tough to figure out. Yeah, so this is what I was talking about. Like this one, for instance, you're doing kind of a donut, what looks to be off the track, but because it's just a whole paid facility, it works. And they set up cones and barriers and stuff to make these work. So let's retry this one. We'll see how well I can do. But yeah, totally the idea here. You get better car, you know, you upgrade your car, you get more performance, and then some of these challenges start getting easier. Yeah, that was way easier now that I have the upgrade on the car. So I think what's going to happen with the other map that I tried there, I probably need to upgrade the car. But anyways, you can go in first person if you want. That's also an option. Not that it matters too much. I think the camera as well feels very stiff, and it doesn't... you're going through a track, it should kind of know where it should go, but the camera doesn't like preemptively kind of look at what you should be doing. So that's also been a bit of a problem. And yeah, I've noticed a couple instances of the game trying to kind of help you out and adjust the speed or the positioning of the car, and it's done in really weird ways to where other times where it doesn't do it, it like kind of bites you, or it corrects in the wrong way, which is even worse. And so that's why it's tough for me to be super positive on that aspect as well of the gameplay, because it's just it's not great. It's quite unfortunate, really. So anyways, here's the different cars. So E36, E46. You could also choose drift ready versions just for the open event stuff here on. So E92. Yeah, graphically as well. Those headlights are pretty ugly. Again, I'm not shitting on the developers or anything. Like, yeah, this game looks okay. There's room for improvement again. RX-7, fantastic cars, and MX-5, which is what we were playing earlier. RX-8, not such a great car, unfortunately. S15. Yeah, I think we'll go with an S15. What else is there? Oh, there's the newer, older AE86, which was added. Actually, this is important to point out. So this game came out, I believe, in June 2021, and then this AE86 was added December 2021, and then zero communications from developers since then, which is a little unfortunate. Like, the game got a couple updates, they added a new car, people have been asking for stuff, for features, updates, whatever, and or bug fixes, and just kind of nothing, which I think is unfortunate. I get you put out a game, update it, make it mostly functional, but at least communicate with people. Like, yeah, we're done with this, we're moving on to the next project. You know, unless you go to the website, you don't realize that they are working on something else. Here's a good case of where the camera is, like, not really helping you. Pretty, you know, pretty sharp corners and not really preemptively looking into them. And then doing it yourself, well, not the easiest thing to do. As you can see with an actual car that has a drift-ready spec, yeah, the drifting is... it's okay. I'm personally really bad at it, but it's manageable. You know, with more time and practice, I can definitely get better at it and get used to the feel that this game's going for. I don't know. To kind of wrap this up, one of the things I saw is a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, actually, if you want a better version of this, at least the drifting side of things, there's a lot of people who seem to like this game called Car X. First time I've personally heard of it. It seems insanely popular, so that's nice to see. And yeah, that seems to be the game that people really like when it comes to drifting. So, I don't know. Worth a look at, maybe, if you're into that. But if you think you want to try out this game and you think what you've seen looks cool enough, I got it through a Humble monthly bundle quite a while ago. And, yeah, so I paid whatever, 15 bucks for that bundle. Got this along with several other games. But if you want to buy this new on Steam, it is $39.99 Canadian, or in terms of US dollars, it's a $29.99 game. And it's been 60% off in the past, so not terribly expensive, but also figure that this game is end of life. They've been completely silent about it. You know, they did one final major update, but they didn't say anything since. Or sorry, they did one. Their last update was a major update. They didn't say it was a final one, and they've not communicated to say it's not you know, they've not communicated otherwise, so it's safe to assume that that was indeed their final major update. Which is unfortunate, but at the same time, like, I get it. You know, they seem to be working on some other projects and whatnot. And yeah, they're not a big team. They've made a couple games. And well, hopefully the next one's better, because yeah, like I said, there's potential here. I've enjoyed what they've done, and I hope the next project builds upon this and becomes even greater. So anyways, I'm gonna back out here. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next week with something else.